guys. Okay, I think we're live. If you're there, can you see me? Are we on? I love this little chat roll. Oh, good. Can you hear me okay? Ryan was up here saying, like, do we need headphones? Are we good here? So hopefully it's okay. This is my first time doing this thing. So hopefully it works out okay. I just got home from bar class. It was late today. So I got out at 10:30 and ran home and threw on a different shirt and tried to like curl my hair a little bit. So here we are. I think we'll wait until 11 just to let everyone have a chance to kind of sign on. But if you're here, I love this little side thing. So you can, if you look to the side on the right, you can see the say something nice, which isn't that nice to have it say something nice. Maybe just tell me where you're from or say hello. And then there's a little button on the bottom that says ask a question. And so I'll do this kind of similar to how I do my normal coffee chats, where I have a list of little things that I'll talk about. And then at the end, I think I'll go through those questions. So if you have any questions, you can click on that ask a question button. And then you can also like upvote a question. So if someone asks a question, you're like, yes, I want to know the answer to that. You can upvote it. And then that will tell me like, okay, that's the question most people want to answer. I'm hoping this will be, I don't know, 30 minutes-ish, 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And I think this might be a fun way to do coffee chats. We're up here. You can see Ryan moved his office up here, and it's not quite as pretty as my side over here. So we'll figure out for next time if I'll use my laptop or we'll, I don't know, somehow make the backdrop look a little nicer. But hi, you guys in New Jersey, Mississippi. Okay, I was hoping to find a time. It's 11 o'clock or almost 11 o'clock here in Washington State. And I know many of you are on the other side of the country. So it's 2 o'clock there. And I was hoping it was still early enough that you're still home and kids aren't home from school, or that you have a chance. And then I also saw a few people who are like in, I don't know, Brussels, Crozet. Amy, do you know Jen? Are you one of Jen's friends? Crozet, Virginia, we went to on a road trip when my girlfriends from college lived there. And I would probably say next to Seaside, Florida, Crozet was our most beautiful place that we visited. So if you've ever been to Crozet, Virginia, it's a place to go. Woodlands, Texas, where it's sleeting. It's actually sunny here in Gig Harbor. There's like blue sky. It's very rare. Nova Scotia. This is fun, you guys. Okay, it's almost 11 o'clock, and snowing. I saw it like it's snowing in Indiana. It's snowing in, not Honolulu probably, it's snowing in Chattanooga. I love it. So do I have any other Washington people here? I don't know. My girlfriend, I just did bar with her and she was like, can I come sit in the room while you do this? I'm like, no, you can't. And then I was begging Ryan to please not sign on from downstairs, but he probably is. So hi, Ryan. Sleeting in Katy, Texas. I've heard sometimes it snows in Texas, which is so weird. And my girlfriend lived in Dallas when there was a hailstorm and her car was totaled because the hail was so intense. That's crazy. Are you from Belgium? Hello. It's evening for you in Belgium. Hopefully you're enjoying your evening in University Place. Hello, you're very close, just over the bridge. Okay, so it's 11 o'clock. Let's get started. So I'm Emily, obviously, from Jones Design Company, and this is Coffee Chat Live. So normally what I do is I set up a video camera, I set it to record, and I just have some things that I want to talk about, and I just talk to myself on a camera. No one is in the room with me. I like to just do it by myself. I usually do it in one take and I call it good. So last week I posted a video and after I previewed it, it was like focused on the thing behind me and I just went with it because it was like, I don't really like to script them. This is just me talking. So if we were gonna get together and have coffee, you know, when you get together with a girlfriend, you usually have a few things, like some funny stories or things that you're loving. And so I've always wanted this coffee chat thing to feel really normal, like we were just friends hanging out. And so the videos have been the best way to do that. But lately I've been trying to think, how do I connect a little bit more with you? Because what I really would love is if we could just sit in a room and actually have a conversation that wasn't just me talking to a camera. And so this is kind of a new attempt. Let's see how it goes. If I get to look at the side thing of you're here, like you're live. I mean, it's weird because you're not in front of me. I can't see your pretty face, but I love just knowing that people from all over the country, all over the world, someone from Berlin, hi Maria, are here visiting. It's fun. This whole like online world is such a weird thing to have friends that you've never met in person, but yet I hope that you kind of think of me as a friend. I mean, that's a weird thing, but I think of all you as friends when I'm writing blog posts. I'm really literally writing to you, and it just feels really, I don't know, natural and fun. So this coffee chat, I'm hoping will be fun. Okay, Sai, hi, from the creator of Crowdcast. It would be fun to invite guests up on the screen. I want to just give this one a try. I'm actually thinking it would be kind of fun to invite a guest. Like I could have Ryan come sit next to me, or I can split the screen and have a friend from another part of the country come join too. Or I don't know, if someone has a question, I'm sure I'll figure out how to let your face be on here and you can ask a question too. So it'll be fun. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so let's get into the coffee chat thing. So something I've been thinking about lately is a morning routine. So we all, I don't know, it seems to be kind of like this buzzword of like, what's your morning routine? And we all have morning routines. It just is it intentional or not? So Ryan gets up with our older boys and gets them off to school, and then I wake up with the younger kids, so it's nice because I like to sleep as long as possible. And so usually my morning routine is my alarm goes off at 7:35. I lay in bed until 8. Sometimes I check my phone. Then it's like 8:15, like, okay, we got to get downstairs, make lunches, kids have breakfast, do Audrey's hair. We're out the door at 8:40. So it's a real quick morning. And they're not scattered and, I mean, I'm not like grouchy in the morning necessarily, but there's nothing really intentional. And something that I kind of struggle with is before I have a chance to like really let God tell me who I am in the morning, I let everyone else. And it's not even necessarily bad, but I like check Instagram and find out like, oh, did everyone like the photo that I had put on there? What happened over the night? Or what comments do people have? And so I just find myself, before I'm kind of grounded, maybe that sounds a little weird, but before I feel like I'm like settled in my own identity, I'm opening up myself to hear what other people have to say about me. And it just is not a really healthy place for me. And so I've been trying to be a little bit more intentional about my morning routine. And part of that for me does not mean waking up really early. I've always thought it would be so great to get up at like 6:30 before the kids are up and have an hour of just kind of quiet. And that just is not me. And I'm going to just say, that's okay. Are you guys morning people? Actually, we could do that. Interact and tell me if you are you early morning? I've tried so hard to get up early before the kids and it just doesn't work for me. So I am trying. I love that Ryan gets up early with the boys. And then I am trying to get up, and before I turn on my phone, in fact, my next step is to, okay, I love this. Try to open the word before you open your eyes. That's true. Alarm goes off at 5:45. Jennifer, like before 7 is not, I'm not in. Anyway, what I've been trying to do is not have my phone right next to me. I still do have it as my alarm. So my next thing is to like just keep it downstairs and set a real alarm. So that's going to happen. I don't know what's stopping me from doing that. Partially because I read a book. And so at night, if I'm reading, I'm on my phones. So I just need to switch that routine. Anyway, in the morning, I've been waking up and I've just bought this new devotional that I just got it the first of the year. It's called New Morning Mercies by Paul David Tripp. And I've heard great things about it. One of my girlfriends told me that she read his parenting book. And then last week I talked about what parenting books would be good for teenagers. And a million times one of his kind of teenage book came up. So it just happens that I got this at the beginning of the year. I've talked about this before. I love She Reads Truth. I love the devotionals. I love the studies. But sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel like I'm fully ready for like a Bible study. I just need something kind of quick that I can just read and pray for a minute and kind of have something intentional to think about before I go on with my day. I need it to be like 10 minutes or less. And so this has been so good so far. Good morning, Mercies. Plus, isn't that cover pretty? I feel really happy about having this on my nightstand. I actually think it's really pretty. But it's been so good. I'm meeting with a spiritual director once a month. And so I met with her, and the things that we talked about were deep and profound and wonderful. And then when I opened up my book, it was like exactly what we had talked about. So far, it's just been wonderful. Do you guys have a morning routine? Is this something that you do, and is it intentional? And if not, maybe think about what you have every morning, and whether it's that you do a devotional or not, or if it's you work out first thing or whatever it is. But I just think sometimes we go through these routines of life and there's not a lot of intention to it. It just kind of happens. And I just find that there's certain things that are just not healthy for me about that. So, okay, we've got a lot of early people here. I'm looking up on the side. Do you guys like this whole side thing? It's fun. Tried to do bullet journaling this year and it's kept you moving. Okay, I have not gotten into bullet journaling because it sounds difficult, but so many of my friends do it. Anyway, love the side thing. Me too, Eunice. I think it's fantastic. Okay, so the next thing that I want to tell you about me trying to be intentional is I got this new app on my phone, and it's called, let me pull it open. It's called Moment. And it tells you, okay, I don't know if you can see this. I don't think you're able to see it. It's called the Moment app. And I don't know if I love it yet, but it records how many times you use your phone, how many times you pick it up and like open it, which is a little bit crazy to see how many times we open our phone, and then how many hours you're using it. And then I think it takes a couple of days for it to kick in, but it will tell you specifically what apps you're using and how long you're using them. And so the reason that I got it, I just felt like it might be a good way for me to even take account of how often do I use my phone? Is it a problem? But then at the same time, I'm like, I use my phone because it's a tool that I actually really love. So I don't really want to add more guilt to my life. Like, oh my gosh, I picked up my phone 21 times today. Sometimes that's like because I got a text message, or because I was posting a picture to Instagram, or using it as a tool, reading a book or whatever. But I think we do live in a time where we don't know how to be bored without our phone. So if I'm just sitting on the couch or waiting for the gas to pump and I'm sitting in the car, I'm going to open my phone the second that I sit down. And I think that there might be some value in not doing that. Hold on, a little thing popped up on my, oh, there we go. Got it off. I just think there's a lot of value in not always going to our phones to keep us busy. And so for me, I'm trying to maybe figure out ways that I might be able to not always go to my phone. So the Moment app is there. The other day it was doing it, and I think that I had, I don't know, 4.5 hours of phone use in that day. So I was scrolling through it and looking at it and thinking, okay, 4.5 hours is a lot of time to be on my phone. And maybe a half an hour of that was listening to a podcast while I was making dinner. So that feels like that's good. I have no problem with that. And a half an hour was on Instagram, and I feel okay about that. But then there was 93 minutes, and that was when Audrey was on an app that we use called Marco Polo. It's like a video, like you record videos and then your friends get it, like a walkie-talkie, but it's video. And so she was on that for 93 minutes with one of her little friends, Marco Poloing back and forth and just using the silly helium voices and being ridiculous. So even that was like, oh, 93 minutes. I don't know that she and Coco needed to talk that long on Marco Polo. So anyway, if you feel like you are having an issue with, or you just are curious, it's a free app. I think you can upgrade and it will give you more features. But for me, I just kind of was curious. I don't know if it's something that I'll stick to for forever. I think it's okay to use our phones, but I also don't want it to always be my go-to anytime I sit down. Okay, so the next thing is on Instagram the other day, I posted chocolate chip cookies. Now, I am really proud of my chocolate chip cookies. I make a very good recipe. I have it on the blog, and then there's a printable recipe card. So it's a cute little illustration that I made, and it's a really good recipe. But I've been thinking, like, maybe there's something else. So I tried the Smitten Kitchen salted chocolate chip cookies the other day, and they were really, really good. But the best part about it is that you put this like flaked sea salt on top. And I happen to have this, I think my girlfriend gave it to me, but you want to use flaked sea salt because if you just use like kosher salt, it will be too chunky. You want this, it's like very thin, so it's not super, super salty. But they were delicious. The dough was crumbly, which is what makes the texture so amazing when they're baked. But if you like to eat cookie dough, like I do, it wasn't the greatest dough, but they were really amazing when they were cooked. So, but the sea salt, I think, was the key to it. So even on my recipe, I'll switch to unsalted butter, and then you add that flake sea salt. They were so delicious. Okay, and then the last thing is I was on a podcast interview earlier this week, or on Friday, and I accidentally cried. I did not mean to, but it was, it's called the Extraordinary Moms Podcast. And it's a great podcast. My episode will come out sometime in February, but she said a question that she asked all her guests at the end is, what advice or what would you say to yourself, your pre-mothering self? If you're not a mom yet, what advice would you give to yourself? And actually, I'll ask you that question too, because I would love to know. So any advice, if you have kids, if you're a mom, what advice would you give to yourself before you had kids? And I think you could probably come up with a million different really great suggestions. But for me, just instantly in that moment, my answer was, I got really teary because I was like, I think that I would just tell myself that you're going to do a good job. And look, it makes me teary again. I do not mean to cry. But I just think we are so hard on ourselves. And especially to mom, don't be in such a rush to get to bedtime. Ooh. That's a hard one. I am in a rush to get to bedtime. Slow down and enjoy those moments. You don't get to do it over. So true. I just think for me, I think I've done a good job, and I'm sure that I've messed up, and I'm sure I could give myself advice for how to do a better job. But I think most of all, in our life, like we're doing the best that we can with what we have. Why am I teary? I do not mean to be teary on this coffee chat. This is like a real view of Emily because I do cry about everything. But one of my friends, she just sent her daughter to kindergarten this year. And she just said when she sent her, she was so crushed because she thought, that's the end. It's my last baby. They're all in school now. Did I do enough? Did I do a good job? Did I take advantage of having them home? And I think we can be so quick to just be really hard on ourselves and say we didn't do a good job. And so in that moment, I just thought it was so sweet that my first reaction was like, Emily, you're going to do a good job and you're doing the best that you can with what you have. She's not my friend, but I want her to be my friend, Annie Downs. She has probably my favorite podcast right now. And she just says like one of her worst things is when someone is trying to lose weight and they hold up their old fat pants and they're like, look at this, and they drop them and then they're all skinny. She's like, that person who wore those pants was doing the best that they could with what they have. And we don't need to shame that person. We can grow and learn from it. But I just think, isn't that wise? I feel like that's so wise that the Emily before I had kids didn't really know what she was doing, but I did okay. And I did the best that I could with what I had. And even still, like for the Emily of the future, like you just have to trust that with some intention and with growth and with the right people surrounding you and with encouragement, you're going to do the best that you can with what you have. So that's my deep thought for today. But I just think we can be kind. Oh, Star, thank you. Yes, you're going to do great. You won't break them and they'll love you too. It's not true. I mean, we're going to all our kids are going to be messed up at some point. There's something that sounds mean, but we will never be perfect, and that's okay. Okay, so those are my topics for today. How long was that? 18 minutes is how long we've been on. So like 15 minutes, which is about my normal video for Coffee Chat. And then now we can just get into questions. So this is maybe the part that I'm kind of looking forward to because it does feel like it's a little more interactive. Like you just kind of watch the video portion of me and now we get to just chit chat. So, okay, let's see what we've got here. And I'll just start asking. If you guys have any more questions, come over into that Ask a Question box and we can talk about them. And then if you have, Stacy, therapy is good for everyone. I agree. I do agree. Okay, so we'll just get into it. How do you organize things that you need to remember to take with you when you leave your house. For example, returning the soup ladle to someone who left it at your house for a luncheon, or a book you said you'd bring to a friend next time you meet. Okay, and then there were a few people who wanted to know that same question. I think that if I'm thinking about it in that moment, I have to just take action, because otherwise it will slip my mind. So I have a notes app on my phone that a lot of times if I'm thinking about something, I'll just jot it in there. Or I also always keep a notebook in my purse. So if I'm out and about and I think of something, I write things down in there all the time. So those two things are great. But then also there's a bench in between my kitchen and the mudroom, and we always go out the mudroom through the garage to leave. There's a little bench there, and I don't love that I do this, but I always stick things there. So if it's like someone's sweatshirt that they left at our house, I'll just put it in a little bag and leave it on there, so I know next time I'm out the door, I can grab that. So I think finding a little zone of a place that you can leave things. My older sister, Amy, I have two sisters, Amy and Hillary. Amy, well, Hillary's amazing too, but Amy is particularly amazing in this thing where she always is so organized. So she has a shopping bag that she keeps in her closet, and she just throws things in there. So either hand-me-down things that she wants to bring to someone, or things she needs to return. So just in her front entry closet, it's a place that she walks by in and out of her house. She keeps a shopping bag in there, and she throws those things in there. And so she's always, anytime I see her, she always like has a bag of either my kids' socks, because they leave their socks everywhere, or hand-me-downs or things to return. So hopefully that helps. Find a little landing zone. I do the same thing with, I have a bag in my coat closet that I keep giveaway things in. And so I always have like a garbage bag that when I find something that I'm ready to donate, I just throw it in there. And then once the bag kind of overflows, then I take it and donate it. But it helps to just have little like landing zones. Okay, I'm going to jump over to this one. Can you tell us more about your spiritual advisor? Says Meredith. So I have been, I don't know, this last year has been, in 2017, was just a really deep and great and difficult and, I don't know, a really, really important year, I think, for me. And identity has been a huge part of that. And so the Enneagram is something a tool that I've used that has been really helpful for me. Just understanding myself a little bit more, understanding why I do the things I do, and why Ryan does things differently than me. And so it's been really helpful just in our marriage and my interactions with other people, understanding myself a little bit more. And one of my favorite Enneagram books is written by a woman named Marilyn Vansel. And she happens to be from the Seattle area. And so when I went to her website after I read her book, I loved it. It's very gospel centered. So it's very much about like God created us a certain way, and then kind of life experience and our culture and our family of origin kind of adds things to us. And at some point we have to search deeply into who God actually made us to be. What is the truth of who we are? And then break kind of that outer shell. So that is what her book is about. And it was just really powerful for me. It was very true for my life. And so I went to her website and I saw that she offered coaching for Enneagram. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try Enneagram coaching. Let's do it. So I met at her house, and then we decided, just based on kind of what I was looking for, I wasn't really looking. A lot of times Enneagram coaching is when you have a specific problem or thing that you want to work through, and you just need it based on kind of your Enneagram type. How would you best be able to do this in a healthy way? And so what we found as I was talking to her is I wasn't really looking to solve a certain problem. I was more, this is like way probably more than you care about, and maybe a little bit more personal than I should be sharing online to all people, but I'm going to say it anyway. But she just was saying like that I feel like I'm in a place where I want to get to a really deep place with the Lord. And sometimes it means that you have to go through kind of these like churning waters in order to get to that deeper pool. And so I feel like this year, I mean, maybe even over the last like 3 or 4 years, have just been this kind of churning, trying to figure out like, what is my identity? What is true? What is not true? How do I get rid of comparison? And like I said, when I open my phone and I see on Instagram that people liked me or didn't like me, it's crushing to me. I don't want to be in that spot anymore. And so I'm wanting to like work through these churning things. My girlfriend says it's my churney. It's so dumb. But wanting to work through that to get to this like deeper wisdom. And what I say is that my ultimate place that I want to be is quiet confidence. That's like the words that I think the Lord's put on my heart. And so so she just said, like, maybe instead of an Enneagram coach, really what you're looking for is a spiritual director to help you, like to pull you into that place. And so we've met, I think, 3 times, and each time has just been really beautiful and really intimidating and very vulnerable. And I cry every time, which is obvious because I just cry all the time. But it's been really, really, really powerful. And I've always wanted a mentor. I've never had like a real life face-to-face mentor person. I've never really known how to get one. And so this is maybe the closest that I've ever been to it. She's not someone who's really giving me advice. She's more just kind of helping me to just move in that journey. Anyway, that's what spiritual direction has been so far for me. I know that there's a lot of people who do it, and I'm sure you can find someone local. I think it just takes looking for someone who really can connect with you. She actually happens to be the same Enneagram number as me, and so that feels nice because I think that we kind of approach things similarly. Our personalities are a little bit similar. So that's it. Okay, someone just said, oh, the book title of the Enneagram book is called Self to Lose, Self to Find. Or self-defined, self-to-lose. I never know, but I think it's self-to-lose, self-defined. Marilyn Vansel is her name. Oh, there you go, Ryan. Oh my gosh, Ryan, thanks. That's my husband. He just put a link in there, so you can click on that, but it's really good. Okay, last year you talked about possibly putting together a workshop for couples that work together. Is that still on your radar? Wouldn't that be amazing? I actually think it would be really cool to do it live and in person, just because I think we've just dreamed barely about like going to a place where you're kind of away from your family and your responsibilities, but you connect with other couples who work. I think it would be awesome. It's not necessarily on the radar, but maybe it should be. I think it would be pretty fun. Okay, next question. I've got more questions here. Sorry. I would love to hear your current podcast favorites, and maybe you could share a book recommendation. I did write a blog post about my favorite podcasts, and those remain my favorite podcasts, so I will link to those. But also, lately, I think they're still on there. Lately, my very favorite is Emily Freeman. Hers is called The Next Right Thing. The Next Right Thing. That's what it's called. The Next Right Thing podcast. I adore everything that she says. She's so wise. And she does a thing I don't know, I've done it twice. So one time in September, one time in December, where she does a thing called the Quiet Collection. And it's just like 3-minute every day you get these messages. And the next time it comes out, I will be sure to tell you because it's so powerful. It's like the greatest way to wake up and listen to a little, I don't know, kind of motivational scripture thing. Anyway, so Next Right Thing podcast, I love. This Christmas, when I was cleaning my house in a frenzy, I listened to like 4 or 5. Brock Heward is a former Washington Husky, so a local college, and then he played football, I think, for the Seahawks. And I love the Seahawks. So he interviews a lot of Seahawks players. He's actually also a broadcaster for ESPN now, and on the local radio station too. But he is a believer, and so he interviews football players and coaches and athletes who kind of about the intersection of faith and athletics. And I mean, I'm not an athlete, so I don't really know why I like this, but it's probably the same reason that I like How I Built This. I love that podcast too. And it's mostly because I just love hearing people's stories. And so Brock Heward's podcast, I don't remember what it's called, but I'll link to it. I love it because it just shows, again, with the identity, like everything right now for me is this theme of identity, but how often we all put our identity in something else. And so for these football players, they're putting it into their football. And then a lot of times the stories, you know, they come crashing down and they realize they can't play football forever. And so they have to kind of rise above that and find out who they truly are. So I love that Brock Heward one. I love The Next Right Thing. Annie Downs, I already talked about her. She's like the person I want to be friends with. And so I love her podcast. I laugh out loud on that one. I listen to podcasts, by the way, on 1.5 speed, which makes them go so much faster. I put headphones in. I can't listen to it like out in the open. Otherwise, I'm too distracted. But if I stick headphones in, I listen to 1.5 speed, so I get through them real fast. So that's really nice. And then for book recommendations, I just started a new book. What's it called? I will tell you. Hold on. I got my phone. It is called, hold on, I'm not looking. Calling Me Home. And I'm not very far into it. I'm on page 55 of 300 pages. So I can't really say that I love it or not love it, but it's called Calling Me Home. And I feel like I have been in a book funk. I have not read a book in a while. So last night I was reading and remembering, gosh, I love reading. I just need to get back into it. So that's what I'm reading. Okay, let's see. Someone wants to know if I have any suggestions for taupe or grayish paint to go well with golden oak trim. Okay, paint colors are so hard because they look so different in everyone's house. So one of my favorite grayish paint is called Revere Pewter. It's by Benjamin Moore. And then Edgecombe Gray is the color kind of right underneath it. It's a little bit lighter. So I would say start with those two. And you just really have to try them on your walls because they look so different in a picture. They look so different in someone's house in Kansas versus someone's house in Washington State. So give it a try. But I do really love Revere Pewter. We had it in our old house. We have it up on the 3rd floor in this house. And I do like it. Okay, what's on your reading? What are you reading? I just said that. And on my list, I do have one more book that I want to read. And well, besides this parenting book, the teenage parenting book by Paul Tripp, but I have a new book that is about the daughter, America's First Daughter, and it's about the daughter of Thomas Jefferson. We visited, when we were on our road trip, we visited Thomas Jefferson's home and learned so much history about him and the place, and so I'm kind of excited to read that. Oh, and then the other one that I really want to read, The Orphan Train, someone just said, Outlander series. I tried to watch the series of the Outlander, and I couldn't get into it, but I have heard Orphan Train's really good too. I want to read, we're doing a new series at church on the life of Joseph. And so one of the books that's on my 40 by 40 list that I want to reread is called The Red Tent. I read it a long time ago. I think it was like the first book that I had read out of college that was just for fun, and I loved it. And when it was over, I was so sad because I missed the main character, which is so weird. But so now that we're studying the life of Joseph again at church, I'm kind of thinking that reading that book would be fun. It's historical fiction. I mean, it's just based on like this very small line about the main character named Dinah, who's one of the children of Jacob, maybe the only daughter of Jacob, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, that book is super good. Okay, let's see. Next question. I'm also turning 40 this year, and I'm now noticing wrinkles. Are they all arriving at once? For sure. I have wrinkles right here a lot and right here a lot, and I don't mind those because I feel like I'm older. I should have some wrinkles. It's this thing right here that I'm not into. I joked that I want to do Botox, and I don't know if it's that big of a joke. I might try. I don't know. But I mean, thoughts on aging. I will say that I just started using, okay, there's so many questions here. Sorry, I'm working here. I just started using coconut oil, just coconut oil on my face. And so I washed my face with my normal face wash. Actually, last night I just washed my face with water. I don't know if that's a good choice. And then I used coconut oil to take my eye makeup off. And then you just put that on. And I feel like it's making my face very smooth. I'm not sure if it will help with wrinkles. I'm trying to just age gracefully and say that wrinkles means you're smiling and maybe scowling. I don't like that part. Okay, let's see. Did I get lost here? Are you into the Enneagram at all? If so, yes, Carrie Clark, I am into the Enneagram. I know people are freaked out about the Enneagram, and that's okay. I see it very much as an amazing tool. My degree is actually in child and family psychology, so I'm finding that while I don't practice psychology, I still really, really do love studying people and personalities and people's stories and, like I said, identity. And so for me, the Enneagram just feels like a really excellent tool, and so there's some really good books about it. I am an Enneagram number 9. Which is the peacemaker, which wants everything to be settled at all time and doesn't want to deal with conflict and hates conflict and avoids conflict at all times. And it is 100% me. I'm learning that sometimes conflict is just, there is conflict in life, and that's okay. And then also I'm learning just to be kind to myself in some of the ways that I just naturally am, but then also wanting to be really healthy. So one of the things that often I do is that if I am stressed or there is some conflict, I will kind of like go inward and curl up in a ball and just like go to sleep to whatever the issue is. And sometimes that looks like me baking cookies or busying myself or reading a book or kind of like escaping. Sometimes that escaping can be really unhealthy, like you can get into addictions really easily. For me, that's not necessarily where I fall, but I still do find myself like falling asleep to the actual issues. So this 2017 has been me very uncomfortable for me because it's me being very awake to my issues. So I don't know, it's healthy. The Enneagram has just been a very big part of that for me. Okay, would love a blog on things to do with kids in Seattle. You guys, do you know how long I've been meaning to do a post about Seattle? In fact, I asked my sister, Amy, again, she lives in Seattle and she's very social and she knows all the restaurants and she does all the great things. And so I asked her to help me and she started a list and then I just never followed up with her. So I would love to do a blog post. I will do my best to get this thing done about what to do in Seattle, especially, I mean, with kids and then also just if you're here visiting and you just want to eat out at a great place or go see a fun thing. We live like an hour south. So we live in a suburb and we live it's on a peninsula. So you take a bridge and it's beautiful and it's very like outdoorsy and near the water and you can see Mount Rainier. So it's different than living in the city, but we just drove up to the city yesterday and it was really fun to drive through there. I mean, the kids don't get to go into the city all that often, but it was fun. Okay, I agree that I'd love to hear what books you're reading and podcasts. Okay, I answered that. And my earrings look great. Thank you. These ones are cute. They're from Ann Taylor Loft. I don't know if you can tell. They've got little ridges on them, but they're kind of fun. Another question. I can relate so much to what you're going through in the comparison trap. It's led me to delete all social media and stop my business, which was based on Instagram and Facebook. I still want to have a shop and use my creativity in business, but I don't know how to do it without social media. Any ideas to get customers without it? Oh, goodness, Jill. It's so hard. I want to quit Instagram all the time too. And then at the same time, I really love Instagram. I don't know if I have a great piece of advice on this. When I was in high school, all my friends, everyone, we read beauty magazines. That was just kind of like what you do when you're 16 years old. And I just found myself feeling terrible about myself every time I read a beauty magazine and I would want to compare myself. So I just decided I'm not going to read beauty magazines anymore. And still to this day, like I just don't even pick them up. I don't read in style I don't really even know what's fashionable because it's a thing that I know is a weakness for me is that I'm going to compare myself. And so I just cut it from my life. I think that there's something that's healthy about it. And then I also think there's something that bums me out, but that's how I would have to react, that I don't have enough confidence in who I am to be able to say this other person is really beautiful or this other business is really successful without comparing myself. So that I say, I'm like fully Jill in the moment working on this and trying to get to a place where I can just, there's a quote that I love that's like, I don't know, I'm going to botch it, but a flower doesn't look to the other flower to bloom. It just blooms. It just does its thing. And I think that is absolutely where I'm at right now. Like I love that there are so many successful businesses and so many successful Instagram accounts and beautiful people. And I also want to not compare myself. I want to just support that and be able just to do my thing. And I think for me, that means like getting very confident in who I am, understanding my identity, understanding my skills, understanding my why. I think sometimes I said this, I think last week, this is getting really wordy, you guys. If you're done and bored with me, click off. I'll just keep talking as long as you're here. I talked about it last week. I think I posted I linked to a blog post about setting goals. And I think, for her example, her name is Kendra. She writes the Lazy Genius blog. And I listened to a podcast that she was talking about with this, that she talks about how she wants to be a size 4 and she's like a size 8 or something. So she's always like, her goal is to be a size 4. And then when she really sits down and thinks about it, she's like, that's not really my goal. I don't actually care if I'm a size 4. My husband loves me how I am. I feel fine the way I am. There's no like health issues with me being a size 8. I'm very happy being a size 8. Why am I putting this pressure on myself to be a 4? So I think a lot of times we set goals that have nothing to do with our actual goal. That's not really what we care about. So I've seen that in myself too, that I have these like business goals and all of a sudden I'm realizing, no, actually, I don't care about that. Why do I feel like that has to be my goal when that's someone else's goal? So I feel like it should be mine, but it's not. And so I think just being honest with ourselves and really, it just takes introspection and it's hard. It's like hard work. So Jill, I say give yourself a break. And then maybe in the time that you're taking a break from it, I think maybe look at your why, look at what your strengths are, look at maybe what your personality is geared towards. I honestly don't know if you can run a real successful online business without social media right now. I just think it is part of the game. I don't know if that's true or not. Do you guys think that's true? I don't know. I just think that's kind of the time that we live in, is that social media is a really big part of running business. So I don't know. I'll think about that a little bit more. I wonder if there's other thoughts on it. I'm sure you can be successful without social media. It just seems like it's just kind of part of the game. Okay, next question. I see some people are leaving. You must leave. That's okay. Thanks, Julie, for watching. Someone said, I got a different number the second time I took the Enneagram, which makes me wonder if I was lying the first time. Okay, Stacy, as far as the Enneagram goes, when you take an online test, a lot of times you'll get either like a tie between a couple of numbers, or one will come up and then you'll do it again and something else will come up. I think the best way to do it is to read through a couple of like either online resources to really study the types, or read through a couple books. So The Road Back to You is a good one. Marilyn Vancel's is a good one. There's another one called Sacred Enneagram, which is a good one. And they all, or listen to a podcast. Annie Downs has a great podcast that kind of gives an overview of each type. Jen Hatmaker just did one with the author of the book of Sacred Enneagram that he runs through each type as kind of like what the core need is. And I think the most helpful way to figure out kind of where your personality lies is to read the descriptions. And generally what happens is one of them will be like, how did they know that? How did they know that that's exactly how I react in that situation? So hopefully one will kind of pop out at you. There are things, like for me, I'm an Enneagram 9, and there are things about it that like, anger, I'm supposed to, like anger is one of my issues apparently as a 9, but I don't feel like a real angry person and I don't see the reaction of anger. So there are some things that are like, I don't know if that's totally me. And that's why it's like, it's a tool. It's not the Bible. It's not absolute truth. It's a tool that we can use to help us understand ourselves a little bit more. How is the bread making going? It's good. I'm going to try to do a true sourdough. I haven't done that yet. And so I've just done the like rustic Italian ones, and that's been good so far. My father-in-law sent me a bunch of links to King Arthur has some other sourdough bread recipes. So, I mean, I'm not a bread maker by any means, but I'm working on it. And love your nail polish color. Do you know the color? I do. It's called Redwood City, I think. I don't know if you can, I mean, they need to be done pretty soon. Over the last, if you look at the blog from, I don't know, 5 years ago, I did a lot of tutorials and my nails were a disaster. And my mom would always say like, Emily, please go get your nails done. But I just never did. I had babies and I was not thinking about getting my nails done. And now over the last year, I've been getting gel polish every 2-ish weeks. And it makes me feel very grown up to have nails done all the time. So that's something that I do. So yes, Redwood City. I need to go get it done again. Okay, I think I got all of the questions answered. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is our first one. We'll do this every week at 11 a.m. And I mean, maybe I'll make them a little shorter next time because this was pretty long, but I'm so glad that you're here. And then I know that a lot of people work, and so they're not able to tune in at 11 a.m. And so I'm sure I'll throw in like a Friday night one every once in a while, just so that for those who work, they can tune in too. But it's fun to connect with you, and I'm sure I'll get better at this and a little less wordy as it goes. Okay, I'll keep reading. There's a couple of questions. Who's the author of The Red Tent? Oh, I wish I knew. I don't know. I'll look it up. Anita Demont. Yes, thank you, Eunice. And natural skincare. Okay, I think I've got all the answers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. There will be a video. I'll post it tomorrow. So if you want to rewatch or if you had any questions, or I'll post all the links to the video tomorrow on the blog. But thanks, you guys. You are wonderful. Loved it.